always, in Minnesota, you walk into a bar and you got two heads. Everybody's going to talk about everything but your extra head. They're going to talk about the weather. That's how families are. Just how we were brought up. And maybe in San Diego too, I don't know. But for sure where I grew up. And she said, you know, my mom and dad aren't perfect now. But they're together. And she said, I don't think they would have been if they hadn't picked up that book that day. I don't think a conversation would have started. Well, what is, and then at the end of the letter, she said, all I want to say is thank you. That's all I want to say is thanks. Well, why do I mention this as a lesson? It's a lesson about literature in the end, about the spoken word and about the written word, about storytelling. I didn't set out writing the things they did to help that family. I didn't know that family. And I didn't set out to help myself even. To do therapy, I set out to tell stories that seemed to be worth the telling, important. And to tell them vividly, clearly, sometimes with humor, sometimes pretty grim, but to tell them. And literature has a power in the end to reach beyond its subject. And to go in and do things you don't know that they can do. When I was a little kid, I would read, these aren't great books I'm talking about, but the Hardy Boys, and it would do something to me. It changed me. It'd get me out of my stinking, boring little hometown, and I'd be chasing smugglers, with the Hardy Boys. And stories can do things that authors don't intend. Literature can do things we don't intend. In the same vein, I've been in, this is like a quote that Sydney used in her introduction, but I've been in many book lines, signing books after events like this, and I'll let people come through me, seniors in college, and say, yours is the only book I've ever finished. And I will be sort of half flattered and half flabbergasted. It's not sort of glad it was mine, I think, but you're not even sure about that. But if a book can get one kid to sort of reach out at a bad, mom and dad are divorced, and reach out and sort of join a world that's make-believe, that's good. The powers of literature, the powers of story are enormous. They can help us dream and can embolden us. They can offer us models for what to do in our lives or not do. Last example. T has heard this one too, but I'm going to say it again. I can recall a story sitting along a foxhole somewhere in Vietnam. I don't know where it was, or even when it was, but I remember Stars and Stripes had arrived. That was a military newspaper. And there was a story on the front page about a kind of a hawkish pro-war story about the hard hats back in the States, for the war. And I remember this guy saying, God, America's a free country, and I'm glad he's saying this stuff, and he's speaking his mind. But if he's so for the war, why doesn't he get his ass over here? If you're so for it, what are you doing, hiding out in some safe TV studio in your cute bow tie and, making these declarations? Come on over. And, or if better yet, send your son. Don't tuck him away at Harvard or Yale or Berkeley or wherever. Send him over if you're so for the war. And don't pick on you. Go yourself. The hypocrisy of declarations of bellicosity and belligerence where they don't go themselves tick that guy off. And I think you can hear my voice tick me off. It's not a political thing. It's got nothing to do with liberal concern. It has to do with hypocrisy. One thing coming out of your mouth while your body is doing something different. It is so easy to be in favor of war since what's your kid going to. Or if you're too old to go to the war, take out an apartment. Live in Baghdad for a while. Go shopping in a local market. And put your body where your rhetoric is. Instead of asking some poor kid from Jackson, Mississippi, or San Diego, or Bloomington, Minnesota to do it for you, ask them to put your own body where your rhetoric is for your children's. Why do I mention that? Because when you come home from a war, you're changed not just in bad ways. It's not just all bad stuff. You learn good things about the world you live in. You know, there's proper ways to behave. And that's the lesson I learned. I learned to make declarations about things. I would put my body there and stand by it. And that's a good lesson to take home from the war. Another good lesson to take home is, man, I was capable of enduring the unendurable. Look at me. I'm not big, I'm not macho. Wasn't a jock in high school. Hated Cub Scouts, hated dirt, hated mosquitoes, hated it all. Didn't know which end of the rifle the bullet came out of. I mean, and I made it. As we called it in Vietnam, we called it keep pumping. I just kept my legs moving. I didn't fall out, didn't quit. I kept humming. As much as I hated the world, I kept moving through it, and I despised the world. But something in my body would not let me quit, and I was capable of it. And it's a good lesson for everybody to know about yourself. That you can endure things you don't think you can endure, including all the bad things you have to do. Okay, I'm going to stop. And I'm going to take maybe I told you to take 2 or 3 questions, and that's it. So, here we go.